like $100.
Yeah.
What's going on, Incline listeners? Hope everyone's doing well out there. Your Los Angeles Dodgers are 2-0. They absolutely decimated the Chicago Cubs at the Tokyo Dome. And if I'm being transparent, despite the scores, I felt like these games weren't even that close. The Dodgers just outclassed the Chicago Cubs and took care of business. How is everyone doing? Jake Reiner, what's up with you? What was your takeaway from the Dodgers sweeping the Cubs in two?
Yeah, Kevin, I had the same kind of thought that you did, where the games were close in runs, but it never felt that way. It always felt like the Dodgers were in cruise control pretty much the whole time. And even without Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts, the depth was really on full display. Kike Hernandez getting into the action, Will Smith driving in runs, up and down the lineup, Michael Conforto contributing, and Shohei Ohtani always rising to the moment. I was kind of waiting to see if Ohtani was going to hit a home run at the Tokyo Dome, and I expected it fully to happen in one of the two games. And when he hit it in the second game, I kind of was with Joe Davis, because like as soon as he hit it, it felt like it was absolutely demolished, but it barely kind of eked over the wall. And I do kind of want to get into the whole like controversy about that, because Cubs fans were just beside themselves. But if you take away that home run, the Dodgers still win by 2 runs. So it really didn't matter one way or the other. It was just a really cool moment. And then on top of that, to see Tommy Edman continue his just torrid hitting. Now, there is a conversation to be had about his switch hitting, because the right side of the plate far superior to the left side of the plate. And we saw that on full display facing 2 Cubs lefties back to back. So I loved what I saw from Tommy Edman. I loved what I saw from this bullpen and our starting pitching. They didn't go deep into games. We knew that. They carried a ton of different relievers. So we knew that Yamamoto and Sasaki weren't long for this world anyway. But I was very impressed with what I saw from those guys as well.
We've got someone new joining us for the 2025 season. This is his first taste of the Incline action. It's Julian Oriola. You can follow him on X at Julian_what. What's up, Julian? What's the first thing you want to talk about?
First off, Klein, I just want to appreciate you and Jake for bringing me on. I appreciate this opportunity. No, but what you guys said, nailed it right. I mean, my take for the games was the same as yours. I didn't think, even though the runs were close, I think, it wasn't as close as people would perceive. So
let's dive into Yoshinobu Yamamoto. He started for the Dodgers in game 1, 5 innings, good enough to qualify for the win. Just 1 earned run, 4 strikeouts, 72 pitch count. My biggest takeaway was, first of all, the accuracy. He was able to pinpoint, locate all his pitches, generate some swings and misses, get the strikes. Really was an efficient workload. Like I said, 72 pitches over 5 innings. Topped out at 98 miles per hour a few times. Was not expecting Yoshinobu Yamamoto to be throwing 98 miles per hour in game 1 of the 2025 season. But there he was. He was dialed in, and he looked like the potent ace of the Dodgers. So loved him setting the tone, and I think that was just a good way to get the Dodgers to get the ball rolling on 2025, seeing Yoshinobu Yamamoto look locked in like that.
Yeah, it was. And the stuff, just electric stuff, making hitters look kind of stupid up there. And, he didn't go deep into the game, and we kind of expected that. But what he did do was what we expected in terms of just being able to limit any kind of damage. The Cubs were the first to scratch a run across and kind of get the scoring going. But after that, he settled right in, and the offense picked him up.
100%.
How about the Dodgers bullpen as well in that first game? They threw 4 innings, no hits, no walks allowed, 5 strikeouts. Tanner Scott was the 9th inning closer. Looked absolutely electric and clean out there. Saw him throwing 98 miles per hour as well to get some strikeouts. Blake Trinan looked very good. I believe he had a couple strikeouts under his belt. Anthony Banda came into the game. I think he was the first reliever on deck. He looked really sharp as well. Game 1, all the Dodgers relievers were locked in. We expected that. There's a good case to be made that they have the best bullpen in Major League Baseball. And I want to flip the script over to the offensive side now. The Dodgers worked out 8 walks. They really made Imanaga throw and work those counts. Even though they didn't get a single hit off Imanaga, they knocked him out after 4 innings because Imanaga had 4 walks that he gave up. I think Max Muncy in that game alone saw like 32 pitches or something. So he didn't get the base hits, but he worked the counts. Will Smith also worked the counts. Will Smith looked good in both games. And Shohei Ohtani scored a couple of runs in the first game.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this Dodgers team, it is so complete and it's just so lethal everywhere you look. Not just with, Will Smith and Max Muncy, Ohtani, Edman, but like Kike Hernandez and Conforto. Can't say that Miguel Rojas really did a lot, but the depth of this team, like I was saying at the top, like is just unmatched. And then when you've got guys coming out of the bullpen, like you mentioned, Anthony Banda, Kasparius, who you would kind of look at those guys as maybe not high leverage or not, obviously not your top relievers, but they come in and just dominate. And I sort of tweeted out that like, if you got guys like Banda, Kasparius and Knack and all these guys, if those guys are going to be elite for you, I don't know how you're going to score any runs off this bullpen. It is so deep. It is so good. And like I mentioned in our last episode, you've got guys like Kopech coming back and Phillips and Gratterall. Those guys aren't even with the team right now because they're hurt. Imagine those guys coming back. I mean, it is scary for the rest of the league.
100%.
Make sure to hit that like button. If you're watching it in the live stream, you can drop a question for us as well. We'll take some questions along the way as we cover these first 2 games as your Dodgers are off to a 2-0 start in 2025. Last comments, the 5th inning once again was the Dodgers' friends because they were scoreless up until that point. And I just want to find it ironic because John Birdie made an error on kind of a routine play, completely botched a ball that should have gone to first base. And this is a guy who was on foul territory this offseason, didn't play in the World Series, but had to make comments about the Dodgers kind of being sore winners and classless. And then karma bit him in the ass. He looked like a fool in that first game, had a very costly error, didn't have a hit, just looked like an amateur out there.
Yeah, I just have to say something to the guys that want to provide the Dodgers with bulletin board material. Like, just stop it at this point. It is so you are setting yourself up for failures, and it's always the guys that aren't as good, right? Like the John Birdies of the world or Nestor Cortez flying off the handle. I mean, I even saw a thing today, Jerks and Profar, if saying that if the Padres had beaten the Dodgers, which they didn't, they would have gone on to win the World Series. It's like, how can you even say that when you can't even beat the Dodgers? Like, you were up in the series 2-1. You had every opportunity to win that series, and you went 0 for the rest of the series after that offensively. So I don't understand why these guys have to come on and say these things. Just take the L, go home, and try again next year, which they're going to have an opportunity this year to do it again. And if they are as good as they say they are with the teams that they're with, then let's see it.
Roki Sasaki made his Dodgers debut, only 3 innings, but I was overall impressed with the stuff. Coming out of the gates, throwing 100 miles per hour, pitch after pitch. A little bit of accuracy issues, ended up finishing the game with 5 walks, just went the 3 innings, had 3 strikeouts. They pulled him after 56 pitches. We kind of expected the Dodgers to be ultra conservative with Roki Sasaki, but I wanted to get both your guys' takeaways on Sasaki. I'll start with you, Julian.
I thought going into it, his first major league start and then going into pitching in his home country, that he was going to be really nervous going into it. I thought he's looked good in spring. I think he looked good in the game with, he lost his command with that, his splitter, but overall he was able to get out of that inning with those 2 back-to-back strikeouts. And, I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year.
I was on mute. It's honestly clear to me that he was very nervous. You could see it in his face. He was sweating out there. I mean, with the pressure of starting for your brand new team and your brand new team being the Los Angeles Dodgers, just coming off a World Series championship, pitching in basically your hometown in front of all of these fans that are watching you, all the eyeballs are on you. You're a young pitcher. All of those things you could see were kind of playing on him. But like Julian just mentioned, like the way he dug deep after not having command, not even of his splitter, but of his fastball, really. He didn't really have command of it at all and was able to work out of that jam and finish that inning with those strikeouts. That to me shows that there is, as they say, there's that dog in him. There's that competitiveness to where if you're backed up against the wall, you can kind of figure it out because the stuff is so good. I mean, the splitter, I've never seen a splitter like that. It looks like Kershaw's curveball, to be honest with you. And it just dives. And when he has command of it, when he gets comfortable, look out, because that stuff is going to play at any level. And the fastball velocity off the charts. I mean, hitting triple digits off the bat. It doesn't even look like, looking at him, that he could throw 100 miles an hour or that he could keep it going consistently at that speed, but he does. And it's remarkable. And I don't know, Kevin, I mean, just watching him, just you're probably getting as excited as I was, just thinking about the potential and the possibility of what this guy's career is going to look like.
100%.
Yeah, like you guys mentioned, got out of the jam, was able to dig deep. That was a good moment for him, even though he did walk in. I believe Kyle Tucker was the batter. He walked in one run, but that was really the only blemish on his day. That splitter is just a unicorn of a pitch. The spin rate is like absurdly low, but at the same time, it breaks in any angle. And I believe on the Fox broadcast, they were comparing it to like a knuckleball where it can just dance all over the place. And it's hard for hitters to embrace where it's going to land. And with, I think, a little bit more confidence or less nerves, Sasaki is going to really be able to control that pitch. And even in the game, despite kind of a lack of command, no one could really touch him. And I feel like the best comparison that I could kind of bring up right now with Sasaki in game one reminds me of how Ryan Pepio looked in his first few outings with the Dodgers in 2022. I guess that would have been the year where the guy had minimal control, was walking a lot of batters, but when he was able to locate his pitches, nobody could touch him. And that was kind of the same story with Sasaki. He only ended up giving up one hit at the end of the day. I know he had the 5 walks, but there's a huge ceiling that's to come with Sasaki, and we're all high on him. So the Dodgers landed themselves a very special, talented pitcher. And when you've got Yamamoto and Sasaki as two guys to mix in with Glasnow and Blake Snell, the Dodgers rotation is nasty and scary. And good luck to the rest of the league if all these guys are out there healthy.
Yeah, and to that point, honestly, like I picked the Chicago Cubs to win the NL Central, and I feel like they still will. I would not even panic about this team because I feel like the Cubs are going to win ball games. They're gonna hit better than this. They're gonna pitch better than this. But when you're playing the Dodgers, it's in a league of its own. Like it is whatever. If they ever were to come up with a level above the major leagues, that's where the Dodgers are. So you're gonna see that a lot this year, where good teams will come in and they will completely be dismantled because every aspect of this team is so well thought out that Dodgers have one of the best off seasons ever. You could compare the last 2 off seasons being the best in franchise history. And to round out this championship roster with even more weapons, a lot of these good teams are going to look bad like this. I mean, Seiya Suzuki, who was also having a homecoming, looked human. I mean, the Dodgers shut him down completely. And you saw what Imanaga could do. The Dodgers could not hit Imanaga. And the fact that they took him out when they did was like, I was sitting there watching, in the dark at 3-4 o'clock in the morning, thinking that once they got Imanaga out of the game, the Dodgers were good because whoever they brought out of the bullpen was not going to be as dominant as him. But it was cool to see both Imanaga and Yamamoto square off because those guys were dominating.
And then I got to make sure I mention this because it would be a shame if I didn't. The Dodgers completely looked like in a league above the Cubs, and Freddie Freeman and Mookie Betts didn't record a single at-bat. And yet the Dodgers offense was still enough. I think they posted 9 runs total, so that'd be 4.5 runs per game average. Kike Hernandez stepped up. He had a home run. Tommy Edman, I know you mentioned him earlier. He had a home run. And then there was no chance in hell Shohei Ohtani wasn't going to homer in Japan. So, of course, he hit a home run. The Dodgers offense did more than enough to take care of business. And Smith, the Muncies, they worked the counts. Everyone, even Andy Pages, I don't know if Pages had a great batting average after the end of the series, but he worked a lot of counts, got on base with walks, and that
he got a
hit.
He got a hit in the last game.
Yeah, I think he had one hit, maybe the entire series, but he had a number of walks, and that helped kind of set the table for Shohei Ohtani.
It's also nice to come back to the States being 2-0. I mean, just having that in our back pocket. And it's weird because the same thing happened last year we split with San Diego, but in terms of the Dodgers coming back home and having to play these weird exhibition games now and get ready for the real opening day. It's just nice to know that we're basically going to start the season with 2 wins already in the bank. That to me is just has to feel good confidence wise. And without 2 of our biggest stars in the lineup, it's like Kevin, you and I were talking about this offline. This is going to be a as relaxing of a season, I think, as we've ever had. Just the confidence that we have in this team, even when guys are going to be injured, because we know that they are. I don't think that we're going to lose that much of a beat.
Yeah, and there's no Giants, in my opinion, to be a threat this year, which would add to the stress, because that was part of the madness of 2021 was the Giants out of nowhere were the best team in baseball record-wise. There's no Dodgers-Giants rivalry. I think we've kind of talked about it at this point. Arizona appears to be the biggest threat, and I think San Diego is going to take a tremendous step backwards because they had kind of an underwhelming offseason. But yeah, I mean, 2 games, Dodgers looked great in both of them. Justin Steele, I have to say, was not impressed with him. His velocity being at 90 miles per hour. If I was a Cubs fan, I'd be a little bit concerned about that. And then on top of that, I want to note that soft tossing lefties, I feel like were the Dodgers' kryptonite for so many years. Now this team just feasts and destroys soft tossing lefties. And that's why the New York Mets got completely ambushed and dominated in that NLCS when the Dodgers were dropping 10, 11 runs on them, because the Manayas of the world, the Quintanas, the soft tossing lefties were no match for the Dodgers.
Right. I mean, remember when we were scared of Eric Lauer, like the Dodgers organization did such a great job at addressing this issue by adding guys like Teoscar Hernandez and Tommy Edman and bringing back Kike Hernandez and keeping Andy Pages around, these guys that just destroy left-handed pitching, to where now when they bring in a lefty to face us or to start a game, it's not as like oh Christ, we got to put in our lesser bats in the lineup that you wouldn't really want in there anyway, but now we have to because of the split. Now it doesn't matter.
Definitely. Gonna offer this one more chance for the chat for right now. If you haven't hit that like button, give us that like. Those go a long way. And if you got questions for us, you want to ask us about the Dodgers in these recent games, or you want some 2025 predictions or questions about the Dodgers or baseball in general, drop them in the chat. Ask us questions and we'll answer your questions. So yeah, I mean, that's my takeaway. You wanted to talk about the Shohei Ohtani home run. I think you hinted at that earlier, the controversy.
I mean, yeah, looking at the replay, you could make an argument that maybe a fan reached over the fence. That it's funny with all the technology of like the 60,000+ cameras. I don't even know what the number is, but they explained on the broadcast, they recreated that video game like replay system with all the cameras. It's kind of mind-boggling to me that we didn't have like a really clear look at the fence of what happened, and would the ball have continued to carry over the fence had the fan not touched it? Who knows? The call on the field was that it was a home run, and when the call on the field is in your favor, you always feel better about a 50-50 call when they go to replay. So I was super happy, obviously, that that turned into a home run and we got great content out of it. But I saw a lot of Cubs fans whining about that. And, oh, of course, Major League Baseball wants the Dodgers and Ohtani to win. So of course it's rigged and all of this bullshit. And it's like, you know what? Why don't you win the game? Why don't you win the game? That home run did not matter. The Dodgers still won by 3. And if that home run didn't count, they would have won by 2. What are we talking about here? They had a guy at the plate, Shaw. They had a guy at the plate with, a chance to tie the game in the last inning, and he hit a ground ball to Miguel Rojas to end the game. So to me, it's a moot point and it's ridiculous. And it's just, we're going to be hearing that all season long. The Dodgers have the biggest targets on their backs of any team in franchise history now because of what they did last year and also what they did in the offseason. So Mookie Betts was right a couple off seasons ago when he said, every time a team plays the Dodgers, it's their version of the World Series.
What's funny too is that home run, I believe, touched the ceiling dome. And there's videos that kind of prove that the trajectory of the ball moved a little bit because Ohtani absolutely obliterated that. So I believe if they were playing in Toronto or even maybe Tampa Bay, both of them have the same rule. It's a automatic double if you touch the ceiling. But I knew the second they were reviewing that, it didn't matter what was going to be the outcome. They were going to give that home run to Shohei Ohtani because those umpires didn't want to be the Grinches of, maybe a once in a lifetime homecoming for Shohei Ohtani, who, like, credit to the fans. I know most of them live in Japan and they're Ohtani diehards. Like the ovation and the crowd roar every time Shohei Ohtani stepped up to the plate or he doubled or the home run, obviously. They were loud. They brought the energy. From what I could see with some videos and the shots, like that crowd was electric. They were really into those games. It was, playoff-like atmosphere. There were some Cubs fans there, like Jack White and Bill Murray, but most people there were repping for the Dodgers. And Ohtani, it was like the Beatles coming to America. They love that guy.
Yeah, just a cool spectacle to see.
I like that Aaron Attic mentions Pikachu. Kirsten Watson should have interviewed Pikachu. The Pokemon represented. There was such a great shot. Early candidate for best photo of the year with maybe they were doing an anthem or something, but you got Pikachu standing behind Shohei Ohtani. That photo is just top notch. And if you haven't seen that, I'll send it to you. But I talked about it last week. The Mount Rushmore, they had the Pokemon. I'm sure the sushi was there. And of course the Dodgers in the house. So best of both worlds for Japan. I didn't see any Hello Kitty though. Let's see. I don't know if we have any questions in the chat yet, but that's all right. So Dodgers roster outlook, kind of looking ahead to the domestic opening day. So Matt Sauer was added to the 40-man roster, but then they optioned him down to AAA. I imagine that the Dodgers see something in this guy and they wanted to keep him on the 40-man roster so that he doesn't opt out. So maybe he's going into the prior lab. Luis Garcia is on the Dodgers 40-man roster and on the active 26-man roster now. And then James Outman got optioned to AAA. Any thoughts on any of those guys?
Outman, we kind of knew that was going to happen, given the fact that he just hasn't shown that he can hit major league pitching consistently. So he's going to go back down to AAA. He's probably going to destroy there because he always does that. And if there's an injury, they'll bring him back up. I don't really have a thought about Sauer or Sawyer. I don't really know him that well, but it doesn't look like they need him.
And I think Garcia will just be there until, we get Evan Phillips, Gratterall, or Kopech back. I think once they're available to come back, I think he'll be DFA'd.
I think Garcia is he's a candidate to want to tear your hair out. I mean, I just hope that he's not in a situation where we really need him to pitch well, because I fear that he can get. I mean, he gave up a couple runs, so it wasn't pretty.
No.
I have to look up if Luis Garcia has any minor league options.
Sorry, he gave up 1 run. I don't want to misspeak here. He gave up 1 run, but still, I mean, him and Dreyer both gave up runs in their appearances.
Do you think Dreyer was more nerves? Because I mean, Dreyer all spring he looked pretty good, but then came into this game and he looked hittable.
Yeah, might have been.
I think it was some nerves. Landon Knack threw a couple innings, but then they sent him down. Robleski, they sent him down as well. But yeah, the pitcher for the Dodgers, Garcia, probably early candidate because he has no minor league options available. He's probably an early candidate of first to be DFA'd, unfortunately, for Mr. Garcia. I have not been impressed with him. I didn't think he looked that good in spring training, and he didn't look good in the Tokyo series. He kind of looks like Craig Kimbrell to me out there. I don't know. I just don't trust that guy's stuff. So no offense, Luis Garcia. We're not high on you right now, but maybe you'll turn it around and have like a Phil Bickford career arc and shine like Bickford did in 21 or whatever year that was. With James Outman getting optioned to AAA, his future with the Dodgers is looking very, very grim. It's at the point now where you had a full spring training. The Dodgers didn't want to roster you. Barring an injury, there really is no pathway for James Outman to get significant at-bats now for the Dodgers. And with Hae-Sung Kim on the roster, you imagine Kim is probably more likely to get called up first, if I had to guess, unless it's a very early injury and they choose to go with Outman because he has a little bit more, or I should say he has more major league experience. But yeah, it's bad for Outman. I feel for him. He's probably at the point in his career now where he might be a change of scenery type of guy. But like I kind of hinted to throughout the offseason, they're giving the center field job to Andy Pages, and it would take Andy Pages to hit like 2024 James Outman to lose that job.
Yeah, and also it would also take him just having the worst season ever as a center fielder defensively for him to be moved or sent down or whatever the case may be. I like Andy Pages a lot. I mean, he made the plays he needed to make in the Tokyo Dome, and that's a tough environment to play in, not only just, crowd-wise, but more importantly, the ceiling. I mean, it is very difficult to track fly balls. A lot of what I heard, I think maybe I watched the Fox broadcast, so I heard I think it was AJ Brzezinski that said that it kind of plays like the old Metrodome where the ball kind of gets lost in the ceiling because the ceilings are white.
Mm. Dennis Gonzalez in the chat leaving us a comment. Hi, gents. Tokyo series was awesome. Also want to say congratulations on 7 years. Looking forward to many more. We're here as long as the Dodgers are in Los Angeles. We'll be here for you. Thank you for the comment, Dennis. Always appreciate you tuning in and being a part of the Discord. I'll drop the link to the Discord as well. I don't have much else to talk about. Let's just quickly preview the Dodgers and Tigers real quick. And if anyone wants to sneak in a question, we'll make time for you. So Dodgers have some days off now, and then they play the Angels. And frankly, I don't care about the Dodgers-Angels exhibition series. I might not even bother to watch a single inning because these games don't count. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way to go from games that count to now games that don't count. Like, what is the point in that? Like, why are we wasting our time here? So the Dodgers and the Tigers play next week, Thursday, March 27th. That is opening day. Some people will say that today's the best day in sports with March Madness kicking off. I would argue that opening day is the best day of all sports day. I love seeing all the aces, for the most part, take the mound for teams, and it's a clean slate for every baseball team. But it hasn't been announced, but it's presumed that Blake Snell will start for the Dodgers, and he'll go against the reigning Cy Young Award winner of the American League in Tarek Skubal. And if you've listened to this show in the past, huge Skubal guy. So no doubt this will be one of the Dodgers' toughest pitching matchups they'll have all season long. And then I believe the next day, Friday night, the Dodgers get their rings. They face Jack Flaherty, and I don't know who would go for the Dodgers. Maybe Tyler Glass now. But I believe, Jake, you picked the Tigers to make the playoffs, so we should.
Yeah, I actually picked them to win the AL Central. So I expect big things from the Tigers this year. And what I'm looking forward to most just right off the bat is What is seeing the ovation and the response that Jack Flaherty is going to get coming back home. He's a LA native, pitched for the Dodgers in the World Series, helped us win a ring. He was great. I loved having him on this team for his, it was a short time, but it was great having him. Loved his tenacity on the mound. Him getting into it with Machado was hilarious. And I love that. So I'm very, very excited to see the response that he gets. I would imagine that it's going to be a pretty like well-received return. And then of course he'll get his ring, which will be sweet. And yeah, I'm with you, Kevin. Like I don't like going from games that count to games that don't count. And I really hope that like with any exhibition series, that the Dodgers just stay healthy and that they don't, run their starters out there that long if they are going to play. I mean, I assume they will because, when you have like more than a week off, you want to make sure that you're, in playing condition once the real games start again. But I just hope that it is a pain-free, we get to see maybe some, prospects and whatever, like, but that they get the starters out of there and that they don't, put them in any kind of danger.
3 games against the Angels. Ridiculous. What a waste of time.
Horrible.
Just throw a bunch of scrubs out there. I don't want to see Glass now. I don't want to see Snell.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
No.
Just put the minor leaguers out there.
Yeah. Just ridiculous. James Outman, you can pitch. We got one question from Craig Osterberg. Thank you, Craig. How many home runs do you expect Shohei Ohtani to hit?
I'm expecting 40 plus.
Okay.
Yeah. I would say, anywhere from 35 to 41, 2.
Let me see what I put down.
Yeah, you said it last time. What you were projecting.
I did. Where is it?
I obviously think his stolen bases will be lower, but I think his home runs will be around the same as last year. I think, like even last year, remember he was nervous, starting a whole new organization and a whole new environment, and it took him a while to hit his first home run. Even though I know he's going to pitch this year, I still think he's probably going to get close to 50 home runs.
Yeah, I wonder if, him pitching will affect it in any way, and how, we don't even know like when definitely he will pitch and how much he will pitch. So that could factor in, but I expect him to it not to matter for him.
Right. So I got the full projections that I laid out there. On March 12th, I've got Ohtani with 44 home runs, 128 RBIs. I think he'll have a WAR over 10. I think he's going to throw roughly 100 innings for the Dodgers, have a 3.5 ERA, and he's gonna. I said it last week. He's gonna win an NLCS MVP or World Series MVP this year. Gonna do big things. Big year for Shohei Ohtani. 40 plus home runs. Love it. I don't think we've got any other questions. We've got Justin Yamas predicting 42 home runs. I guess let's go into our final thoughts. Anything else you guys want to predict or cover real quick before we get on out of here? Quick episode.
Yeah, I've got a quick little rant. Maybe you guys can comment on it, but I did not know this until watching the second game. And again, I watched the Fox broadcast because I'm always curious how the nationally televised games handle the Dodgers. And come to find out that neither Adam Amin nor Jason Benetti, the two play-by-play guys that did games 1 and 2, were in Japan. And neither was AJ Brzezinski. They did those games remote from the States because I guess maybe Fox didn't want to spring for, to have them travel. I mean, I was shocked that it actually was on Spectrum for those games. I also was doubly shocked that Joe Davis was calling the Dodger games because Joe Davis is the main guy at Fox. I mean, and to me, it's like, how in the world do you not spend the money to make sure that Joe Davis, your guy who calls the All-Star games, the big, prime time baseball games on Fox, the World Series, all of that. How do you not have him for this? This is a big moment on a big stage for Major League Baseball. They are bringing the game to Japan with the biggest star to ever come from Japan, not named Ichiro Suzuki, to play in the major leagues. He's coming back to play. Plus, you got all the rest of the guys, Yamamoto, Sasaki, Seiya Suzuki, Imanaga, all those guys coming back. How do you not have a broadcaster at the game? It created a weird delay thing with the actual broadcast too that I thought was weird. And obviously, you know that you can't really get the feel for the game if you're not actually there. I understood it during the COVID years because they didn't want to have guys travel. They wanted to limit the amount of people traveling with the team. But this should have been Joe Davis, or at the very least, if you're going to have Joe Davis call the games for the Dodgers, have a guy there, any guy. Jason Benetti, I love Jason Benetti, and I think he should be calling more nationally televised games, but have Jason there, be there at the game. I didn't understand that, especially since the Dodgers had Steven Nelson there too. So it would have made perfect sense to have Nelson do the games on Spectrum and have Joe Davis do the games on Fox. I just thought it was ridiculous, and I thought it was cheap. And I don't understand when you have a main network like Fox that handles most of the big games for Major League Baseball, how you don't do that. They wouldn't have done that with the NFL.
Oh, no.
I had no idea they were remote that whole time. Thought they were there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's funny seeing Jason Benetti calling NFL games now. It's like when the baseball guys call football, it's like not their element. But wow, I learned something new today. I thought Jason did a better job than Adam.
Yeah, I like Jason Benetti. I think I'm kind of bummed that A, he's not doing more nationally televised games, and that B, he isn't like the main Dodgers broadcaster. I've always liked him, and nothing against Joe Davis, but and I have my thoughts about Joe, but the other thing that bothers me about the Dodgers franchise, and really not a lot bothers me about them, but this is the one thing that does bother me about them, is that we don't have our own broadcaster. We don't. Joe Davis is not there a lot. He does a lot of the nationally televised games, and we get a lot of Steven Nelson, which, friend of the show, loves Steven Nelson. But I, as a Dodgers broadcaster, as a Dodgers fan that grew up with Vin Scully all the time, like, that's what this franchise is about, is having the voice of the team always be there and be there for the majority of the games. So I would be happy if they were like, you know what, Joe Davis, you do football, you do baseball, you're the main guy, you're the new Joe Buck of Fox, like, do that full time so that we can have a guy that's there every single game. That's my only knock on this franchise, is the broadcasting situation.
It feels like most broadcasters in general now, there really isn't that guy. Like you were kind of mentioning, it's with a number of announcers now where they loan them out. Like, even, I'm not a fan of him, but Don Orsillo is more of a Padres guy, but even he does national broadcast. Jason
but
Benetti,
he does way more Padres games than he does national games. Same with Benetti. Your guy, Brian Anderson, he does the Brewers games, but he's there the majority of the time, I would say.
If I'm not mistaken, didn't Vince Scully, when he started his career, didn't he do a little bit of different sports plus the Dodgers during that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with.
No, yeah, I'm just saying, but I'm just saying
like,
that.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with broadcasters doing nationally televised games, but
right.
As a Dodgers fan, like, I want my guy there for the majority of the games. And I think they're doing us a disservice with Joe Davis. That's personally how I feel.
No, I get you.
Too much rotation. Even the color commentators, it's like Jessica Mendoza this week, or Eric Karros this week, or Dontrell Willis. Like, get one or two guys and just build some chemistry. I feel like there's too many broadcasters that they shuffle in now. And Craig was mentioning in the chat, apparently the Dodgers radio broadcast team, they were remote. So I guess not everyone was able to make the trip. But I don't even know who was calling the radio. I thought, was it not Steven Nelson?
It must have been Tim Neverett and Rick Monday. I mean, that's a different thing to me, because it's like Fox is the nationally broadcasted game. Like, you got to spring for that. You got to all the bells and whistles for that. I don't get it.
This might be our last question of the evening from Dennis Gonzalez. Can we expect improvement from Haesung Kim for us to see him get major league time, or does he stay in AAA? I mean, at first glance with this question, you would hope there's improvement, and there definitely will be expectations because he just got to the Dodgers. So it's going to take him some time to adjust from the KBO League to Major League Baseball. It's a lot different than players coming over from Japan to Major League Baseball because the talent gap, Japan is superior in terms of their talent pool. And there's a reason they just won the World Baseball Classic, and they're continuing to produce stars now with the likes of Yamamoto, Imanaga, Sasaki, some of the more recent ones. And then they've got that third baseman. I don't want to say his name right now because I'm going to get it wrong, but he's projected to be posted and be a big time third baseman next season when he comes over. Versus KBO, you had Jung-Ho Lee come over to join the Giants. He hasn't impressed so far. You've got
he also isn't healthy.
Not healthy, but when he was playing, he wasn't good. Ha-Sung Kim, the one from the Padres, who's now on the Tampa Bay Rays, it took him a couple years to adjust to major league pitching, and even he's like an average hitter at best. So the same story is going to be for Haesung Kim. Give him half a season, see where he's at in AAA. He gets the ballpark boost because Oklahoma City's elevation is kind of like a course field, so hitters get a big boost in power numbers, and we'll see how he adjusts. He'll face AAA pitching, which is for the most part kind of in line with KBO pitching, and I'm still optimistic on Kim at the end of the day. I think there's a lot of room for him to grow.
And I think the Dodgers are going to give him a lot of rope too, because I heard Dave Roberts during spring training saying that they're trying to do something with his swing and correct some things that they're seeing there. So that's why I think that's a big reason why they're sending him down, because they can really work on it with him and he can get so much playing time. He can play every day as opposed to platooning in the major leagues, which is tough to do as it is. But when you're coming over into a new organization and a new country and a new system and all of that, you want to give a guy as much leeway as possible. We know the glove is there, but it's just about getting the bat there. And I think we will see improvements, and we will see him up with the big league club this year.
100%.
Looking at any Dodgers success against Skubal, Teoscar's 2 for 4 with a double. That's really about it. Tommy Edmonds 3 for 8. The other guy, quick credit to Michael Conforto. He looked pretty good at the plate too. So we talked about Conforto a decent amount. Great role player to add to this Dodgers lineup. So deep lineup, even without Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman, they got the job done. That's all I got. Dodgers are 2-0. They've swept the Cubs, and they are the kings of Tokyo, Japan. Any final thoughts or anything else to quickly throw out there?
No, I'm excited. I'm excited for the season.
Yep. I was like, can it be Thursday already?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll take a break because the Dodgers don't have any more meaningful games until a week from today, March 27th, at Dodger Stadium against the Detroit Tigers. Thank you guys for all tuning into this episode of the Incline Dodgers podcast. If you're listening on the audio feed and you like the episode, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't yet, we've got a lot of Dodgers content that we're pumping out as the season progresses. Dodger baseball is here. We've got basketball, March Madness, and Major League Baseball all in the month of March. Good times. Thank you guys for tuning in.